Do what you need to do to get comfy. You can gently close your eyes. You want an upright posture that is relaxed without tension or strain. Eyes can be closed, or if it's more comfortable, a soft gaze on the floor in front of you. Just taking a moment to acknowledge where we're at right now in our bodies, in community, and maybe setting the intention to remain present for the next 10, 12-ish minutes while we meditate together as a group. The meditation will begin and end at the sound of the bell. I often get to this time of the day and realize I've not taken a single deep breath. So if you're like me, let's take a collective breath together in through the nose, expanding our lungs, and out. Just feeling what that does to our nervous system, how it feels in our body. As you find your own breath and rhythm, we'll start with a body scan, starting with the top of the head, easing the tension that might be here in the eyes, the temples, your mouth and jaw. Feeling the ease travel down your neck, into your shoulders and upper back. Finding an expansiveness in the chest as you breathe in and out. Feeling a sense of openness to whatever might be arising. Finding ease in our bellies by softening them. I tend to hold a lot of tension in my belly, so maybe just taking some time to recognize and soften here. Finding ease in our hips, down our legs, into our seat. Feeling held and supported by the cushion or chair. Feeling a sense of groundedness in this moment. And just arriving. Letting yourself land just as you are. There's no right or wrong way to be or feel right now. Just breathing in and out. And with each inhale and exhale, feeling more connected to the body in this moment. As we begin to work with praise and blame, these are familiar companions as we just explored together. There's entire worlds that can be built around them, ways that they can uplift us, ways that maybe cause us to feel like we're unraveling. And we don't need to bring up any specific moment of praise or blame or the feelings that might be coming up, but just sensing sort of how praise and blame shape our inner landscape. Moments of seeking approval, moments of maybe fearing criticism, maybe moments where your worth felt tied to someone else's view of you or your own view of yourself. Just sort of exploring how these things are present in our lives. Not trying to fix or solve them in our minds. Just noticing sort of the human condition of praise and blame. And if it feels okay, sort of gently allow yourself to feel what comes up in the body as you bring praise to mind. Not necessarily a story that might be tied to praise, but more of the somatic feeling in your body when you think of being praised, or of what comes up for praise in your mind. Is there a warmth sensation in the heart? Do you feel maybe some relief? Or does it feel like pressure? Again, no wrong or right answer, just exploring what it feels like to bring praise to mind. How do we feel in the body? And now moving into what does the body feel like when we bring blame to mind or criticism? Is there a tightening in the body? Maybe some bracing, a sense of vulnerability. Just letting each sensation rise and fall. We don't need to push anything away or hold on to anything too tightly. Just noticing what's here. And maybe the mind is feeling busy tonight, and that's totally okay. This is a practice of returning. So maybe we tell our minds, not right now. I don't need the story. I don't need the list, the ever-growing list in my head. I'm just going to be here right now. And tonight, I'd like us to work with 2 simple phrases. Each one is in an effort to support our relationship with praise and blame. That'll hopefully lead us back to an inner steadiness. The first being, I stand in what's true. I stand in what's true. And the second being, my worth isn't up for negotiation. I stand in what's true. My worth isn't up for negotiation. Maybe with each inhale, I stand in what's true. Exhale, my worth is not up for negotiation. Feeling as the phrases invite you back to your own inner compass, to the values that don't waver when praise arrives, but also doesn't collapse when blame appears. I stand in what's true. My worth is not up for negotiation. You may feel grounded. You may feel resistance, nothing at all, emotional. Everything is welcome here. See if you can remain open to the experience of meeting whatever arises with compassion. I stand in what's true. My worth isn't up for negotiation. You do not have to earn your worth. You don't have to defend it. It's not determined by someone else's voice or by your own inner critic. Praise and blame will come, as they always have, but we can find an anchor and return to it again and again. I stand in what's true. My worth is not up for negotiation. We'll spend the next couple of minutes practicing silently. The meditation will end at the sound of the bell. Gently come back to the room and the air compressor. So, as I mentioned, tonight's talk will be on praise and blame, and I feel quite intimately familiar with the duality of praise and blame. As a lot of folks have shared in the room from our icebreaker prompt, I feel like my mind has been a judge of all of my life's actions. Praise and blame are certainly a constant companion in my ear, in my mind. And when I or someone else has an opinion of me, or when I succeed, when I fail, when life does what it will do over and over again, there are many opportunities for praise and blame to make themselves known. And I've recognized that having an unskillful relationship with this has led me to form deep-rooted opinions of myself and my worth. And where the winds of praise and blame gather up all the ways that I can think thank God, that I can think maybe I'm better than, or more often than not, the ways that I'll sort of never meet the mark. So exploring this teaching and the practices that the Buddha has shared and laid out has shown me that while praise and blame are inevitable, there's a freedom that comes from, one, not ignoring that reality, and two, from not basing my worth or identity within what those inevitabilities tell me. And so this week considers how integrity and humility can be used as anchors whenever approval or criticism arise. So today we're going to explore, one, how praise and blame can shape our landscape. So just investigating a little deeper around like the nuance of praise and blame. And next we'll talk about the consequences and the challenges of clinging to praise and rejecting blame. And then how we can find some more solid ground amongst these winds. So when I sat down to think about this at first, they kind of felt like abstract concepts, like, okay, if I'm visualizing, right, here's the praise and blame, devil and angel, the feeling that like they show up when I have big decisions to make. Like there's some very obvious moments in life when they make themselves known. But the longer I reflected, the more I could see that praise and blame are sort of woven into all aspects of life. They show up in relationships with others, the relationship with myself, at work, when I'm alone, when I'm in rooms full of people. Like there isn't really a moment when there isn't some voice being shared. But I want to investigate sort of how they transform our inner landscape within ourselves. I'd love some folks to share again what are some common words that come up for you when you think of praise? Like, what does that look like? You can share out loud.
Woo!
Yeah. Yeah. Validation.
Creative.
Totally. Good job. Creative. Totally. Yeah. All these like words of recognition, of confidence. But then I started thinking about how like praise can also feel like relief, and that didn't seem like an obvious one to me. Like sometimes when I get praise, it's like a relief because I didn't disappoint someone, because then the blame wasn't the one that was maybe chosen in that moment, which is like weird to me. Like when I think of praise and all of the things that were shared, like praise should be this like ultimately positive one, but it's not always. Like, as someone shared, praise can sometimes be a thing that I don't actually associate with. I'm getting praised for something that I don't even identify with. Is that actually good? Do I feel good about that? And how closely is that tied to the blame part? And blame doesn't have to mean like you did something wrong and now you're being blamed for it. More so just the feeling of, shared disappointment or the lack of something, or the experience that didn't maybe go the way that we thought it would. So for me, blame is certainly the best friend I never asked for. No one needs to tell me what blame feels like for me in my mind or my body. It is a guiding force, has been a guiding force in the decisions of my life. And at any point of the day, it could show up telling me that I've done something wrong, and it's a fake. I have found through this practice and meditation that like the blame signaling, the narrative in my mind is actually like a fake gut feeling. Like, oh, I have this gut feeling, like this is what's supposed to be happening. This is what I should do. And it's like, is that actually in alignment with my values or my authentic self? Or is that blame and fear telling me that I should be doing something in an effort to maybe be praised or to avoid, something going wrong? I find blame to be very vulnerable. Being close to blame means being open to disappointment, which has been like a big no-no in my upbringing. I avoid wanting to disappoint anyone at any time. And so I think being able to notice how praise and blame show up in our lives and like the nuanced ways that it can make itself known, make themselves known, and how they sort of like color our lives, the lenses that they put up in our interactions and how we view ourselves. And if it was just as simple as like the angel and the devil in the cartoon, and you're making this decision and it's telling you like, no, that's a bad idea, it's a good idea, I think it would be really easy to say in this moment, I have one of two things to listen to. But unfortunately, that's not what happens. Our lives are very complicated and they're complex. We are complex as humans. And so I think being open to exploring and sitting with like present moment awareness can show us, maybe the smaller ways that praise and blame impact our lives. One of my favorite teachers, Joanna Hardy, says, mindfulness helps us see the stories the mind creates, especially the ones we've rehearsed our whole lives. And when I think of praise and blame for myself, it's certainly a rehearsal that has been going on for decades now of what I know to be true for praise and what I know to be true for blame. They're patterns. They're intimate relationships that they have with each other and with myself. And so, I'll use sort of, as we explore the challenges and consequences of craving praise and avoiding blame, I'll use some of my own stuff, my own childhood stuff. I was a parentified child of sorts. I definitely was a people pleaser. I needed to be externally aware of how everyone around me felt and how I could impact how they felt, how I was responsible for that. And so life has taught me to sort of like perform to an extent for others, to seek their approval, to ensure that they aren't disappointed in me or my actions. And that's meant building a whole life on a story that my own needs and my own approval and my own metrics of discernment were completely wrong. Because all of my metrics for praise, blame, approval were external to myself. They weren't based on any of my own internal, my own internal understandings of myself and what I knew intimately to be right or wrong or true. And so when I was thinking of this talk, it made me think of Mario Kart. Even if you've never played, I feel like you've certainly seen what the game looks like. But, you start off at this starting line and you're revving your engine, waiting for the green light to go, and then you're off and you're bobbing and weaving all of the things that are in the road, what others might throw at you, a mushroom, a bomb, and it's all totally unknown. You don't know when it's coming. And at the same time, you're also going as fast as you possibly can to keep up, to get the coins and the mystery boxes. And isn't that just like an analogy for life? Like, we are craving the race of life, the praise, the coins, the gifts, the status, the whatever it may be. At the same time, we are constantly swerving, avoiding, running from the negative, the blame. And this is all internal or external. Most of the time, and like a lot of us shared here, it's this internal Mario Kart that's happening in our own mind. There's nothing actually being thrown at us. Life is being thrown at us. Life will always have things in the way, in the path. But a lot of the time, it's the internal landscape that praise and blame have created in my mind. And the craving keeps us in a pace of life that's not realistic. That's a consequence of craving praise. It forms a world that tries to keep sunny skies all day, every day. Joanna Hardy says, when we cling to praise, we become dependent on something that was never stable to begin with. It is not forever. Praise is not forever. Neither is blame. And when we're avoiding the blame and the emotions that arise with blame, it's like we're ignoring the fact that we have seasons. Like, things will happen. We will not have sunny skies all day, every day, nor will it be winter forever, even though it feels like that in Michigan. And that's how it's supposed to go. There are like natural ebbs and flows of life, of being human. the craving and avoidance of praise and blame, we maybe don't see the impact and the consequences in the immediate moment, but slowly and with time, we can see how it robs us of living authentically to our own inner knowing, how it shapes our external reality with parameters and walls that we didn't even mean to build. And we become more detached from the equanimity that we can find in life and within ourselves. Thich Nhat Hanh says the most dangerous prison is the one we build inside ourselves. And don't I know that to be true? So how do we find some solid ground? How do we work with all of that? I'm going to suggest something really radical, but we're not going to fix it. There's nothing to fix here. This isn't about right or wrong, yes, no. While they are dual ends of the spectrum of this worldly winds, praise and blame, they're not something to be fixed. It's a part of humanity. Navigating this is a normal part of life, but we can meet these realities more wisely. Can we be less swayed by the worldly winds and ease the sufferings that praise and blame cause? And two of the things that I found as anchors to help with praise and blame are the cultivating the qualities of humility, or anatta, which is not self, and integrity, which relates to sila, so the ethics of right speech, action, and livelihood. So with humility, or anatta, we're learning to not attach ourselves to the ideas, stories, or versions of ourselves that are built from what praise and blame tell us. And not self is not a concept of like, I don't exist, nothing exists, and the whole world is a lie. Like, it's about not creating an identity around what praise or blame are telling us, because there is no, similar to what Joanna Hardy was saying, there's no stability found in an identity. Our identities are constantly changing and moving, and are we the same person we were when we were 10 years old? No. Do I still like Mary-Kate and Ashley? Yes. But I'm not the same person. And if I completely formed my whole life around a singular identity, it would prevent me from having or exploring new things, new opportunities, new versions of myself. And so as situations arise, the angel and devil of praise and blame might be on your shoulder. But can we take a moment in the moment when we see that happening to practice maybe some compassion, some present moment awareness? And slowly, with that awareness, we can begin to break the patterns that praise and blame might be forming. In the Buddha's teachings, humility isn't about thinking less of yourself. It's about seeing that yourself isn't the solid entity you believed it was. And with integrity, which is sila, right speech, action, livelihood, becoming more deeply aligned with our values of being trustworthy and non-harm, we can meet praise and blame by letting integrity be our North Star, our compass. And instead of the approval or perceptions we were chasing before, we can let our own sort of inner guide be the deciding factor. And it's not a way to avoid responsibility or accountability when we do things wrong. It's not to bolster our ego when we receive praise. It's about moving through integrity means being connected to deeper knowing, morals, and values, not the ones we learned from praise and blame, but with the ones that we have cultivated through our own understandings, and letting our actions be dictated by ethics and not how we're going to be perceived. I was really digging Joanna Hardy today. So she says the freedom isn't in praise or blame going away, but in seeing their emptiness and choosing how you show up. We don't have to put all of our eggs in a basket of praise or blame. And so to take away from today, we want to, one, be aware when praise and blame are showing up in the varied ways that they make themselves known in our lives. We want to have an understanding that the more we avoid praise and blame, the more we avoid blame and crave praise, the deeper the consequences can be in our lives. Accept that it's just one part of being human and not the entire point of it. And we can center humility and integrity, which can provide a solid ground that makes us unshakable in the face of the worldly winds of praise and blame. I appreciate your time. Take what resonates and leave the rest. Thank you.